Hello everybody, Raven Knight here with another hot response video right off the line. So, I got this video sent to me on Discord. It is from Film Theory. Now, I at first was kind of shocked. I thought that Film Theory was done since MatPat had officially left the internet. But it turns out Film Theory's under new management now, and you know what? More power to them. I'm kind of glad that they're still staying strong. You know, they were pretty entertaining. I didn't always agree with MatPat. I thought that he had some pretty bad takes every now and then, but you know what? They were very popular. A lot of people seem to like them. More power to them. Glad they're still going strong. So their first video on Film Theory, since MatPat has left, is pretty bad. If this is a sign of things to come for Film Theory, I do not have high hopes. This video that they've released is about Kung Fu Panda, specifically Oogway. Now, if you know anything about me and have followed my channel for any specific amount of time, you know that I have a lot of very positive opinions about Kung Fu Panda, the franchise, and about Oogway in particular. In fact, there's a video on my channel called The Way of Oogway, where I talk about Oogway as a teacher of Taoism, and about all the lessons and stuff he has taught, and about how he represents Taoism philosophy in a very unique way. While I'm no Taoist myself, I really enjoy doing the research for this video. I think it's one of my better video essays, despite it being so old. If you haven't watched it, go take a look. I think I did really well with it. I'd love your thoughts on it. But that's an older video. Today, Film Theory is here to talk to us about Oogway as well, and they're here to tell us a little something different. You know, not quite what I did, but you know, they're here to tell us that Oogway is actually a horrible teacher, a detriment to the world of Kung Fu Panda, and an overall toxic individual to his own students and everyone around him. So in other words, Oogway is the worst thing about Kung Fu Panda, apparently.
That is bad news.
That's a take. You know, I'll give you that. That is a unique take, I grant you. So, it seems that I must take Film Theory to task and find out. Are they right? Are they wrong? What is it about Oogway that made them say that Oogway is not only a bad teacher, but one of the worst things about Kung Fu Panda? I'm very interested in this, and I hope you are too. Now, before we get started, let's go ahead and switch out my avatar, as I'm wont to do. There we go. Beautiful. Looks adorable. That is, Chinese Bunny Claire. I forgot what name we gave her. I'll add it down below in just a second. Yeah, you're seeing it down below. Okay, awesome. All right, well, no more waiting around, I guess. My time has come. Let's do it.
This may be the world you want, the world you envision, but because of your mistakes, your missteps, this is the world you will get. And the only way to stop it, to save it, never listen to this turtle.
Well, given how each of the movies ended, especially the third movie, I'd say you're objectively false here, dude. It was because the cast listened and respected Oogway that Po achieved inner peace and enlightenment and truly became the Dragon Warrior. It was because Shifu listened to Oogway and believed in Po that he obtained peace in his own heart. It's because Oogway chose Po in the first place that the proper Dragon Warrior was chosen and that peace was brought to the Kung Fu world. You know, the movies seem to indicate that Oogway was the right dude to listen to, but hey, I mean, come on, you're only 14 seconds into your video. Surely one incredibly false take isn't an ill omen of what's to come, right? Right?
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that knows that the secret to theorizing was inside of you all along. And just to start, I'm sure many of you are probably a little bit confused right now. Why did MatPat's voice suddenly drop a couple of octaves? Is this a true crime podcast now? Well, not exactly. Obviously, I am not MatPat. My name is Lee. It's great to meet you. I own 4 swords and I've lost a game of Mario Party to Vegeta. Well, his voice actor. He's a nice guy. I've actually been working behind the scenes here on the Theorist channels for going on 10 years now. No joke, I was the 3rd editor Matt ever hired all the way back in August of 2014. My very first episode was The Peach is Dead game theory, but I've since been able to keyframe my way out of the editor dungeon, and I've had a hand in film theory since the very beginning. I have written or edited countless videos for the channels. Literally, I tried to count them and I have no idea. They all kind of just blur together at some point. I think I did Gaster? Not Sans' Nest though, that was all Matt. Regardless, I know this is a big change, and I know it's a lot. I'd say that this meme that's been floating around really kind of sums it up best.
My time has come. You must continue your journey without me.
What are you? What?
But something else that this meme reminded me of, the fact that Kung Fu Panda 4 is right about to hit theaters as of the time of writing. And now that I've taken up the mantle of the film theorist, I can't wait to watch it. In case you don't know, Kung Fu Panda is about Po, a panda obsessed with Kung Fu and the martial arts masters that live in his village. Master Oogway the tortoise, the Furious Five, and Master Shifu, who is apparently a red panda? Despite not having any traditional Kung Fu training, Po is named the Dragon Warrior that will gain limitless power, much to the confusion and frustration of all the other masters. By the end, Po and the others learn that the limitless power is not some magical technique or hidden energy. It's the realization that you were special just the way you are. I was practically raised on these sorts of animated homages to martial arts like Jackie Chan Adventures and Shaolin Showdown, so I really connected with the Kung Fu Panda films. The wholesome message of loving yourself in 1, the heartfelt themes of family in 2, the killer animation in 3, and that's not even mentioning the multiple spin-off series and web shows and even a holiday special. But the thing I respected the most, the restraint of not using the song "Everybody Was Kung Fu Fighting" until the 3rd movie. That is true power.
Okay, then you clearly didn't watch the credits of the first movie. That was the song they played for the credits in the first Kung Fu Panda movie. I mean, I'd play the clip to prove it, but I don't want to be demonetized for playing copyright music, so go watch the credits to see what I mean. But yeah, they played Kung Fu Fighting for the credits of Kung Fu Panda. Look, MatPat wasn't always right in his takes, but at least I felt like he did his research. This guy? Come on, bro.
But, of course, when you consume that much content as a theorist, you're bound to notice some inconsistencies, specifically when it comes to everyone's favorite old kindly Kung Fu tortoise, Master Oogway. See, between the hours of meditation and giving out cryptic advice, like
Quit, don't quit, noodles,
he's creating more problems than he's solving. He is not the wise master that this series has made him out to be. In fact, he fails pretty much everyone he has ever taught, leaving his students in a worse place than where they started. And the most disgraceful part of it, his flaws have created cycles of abuse and miscommunication that threaten to go on and on unless someone steps up to stop it.
That is a very bold thesis to present. Wow, Oogway was not only a bad teacher, but he started a cycle of abuse? Seriously? Okay, dude, I sure hope you've got some killer evidence. Oh man, that's a take, all right.
Look within yourself and cook your noodles, loyal theorists. It's time for some Kung Fu fighting. Skadoosh! So how in the world am I gonna make the argument that adorable old Master Oogway is actually the absolute worst? Well, it comes down to what I have identified as his 3 major flaws: his lies, his teaching, and his legacy. Let's start with Oogway's first major flaw, his lies. The entire conflict of the first movie is built completely on Oogway's lies about the Dragon Warrior. See, the Dragon Warrior is a prodigy of Kung Fu who would be worthy to learn the secret held within the Dragon Scroll. When they open the scroll, the Dragon Warrior would be granted limitless power, something they love to bring up in the first movie.
You think it's that easy? That I'm just going to hand you the secret to limitless power?
The scroll has given him power!
The prophecy was first foretold by Master Oogway, who said that the Dragon Warrior would protect both the Valley of Peace and its inhabitants.
It is as Oogway foretold. You have brought peace to this valley and to me.
But at the climax of the first movie, we learn that the legend of the Dragon Warrior is a sham. After Po finally opens the scroll, he finds only a blank, shiny canvas, though he later sees himself in the scroll's reflection, realizing that
There is no secret ingredient.
the secret power of the Dragon Warrior was just to believe in yourself. Classic, the power was inside of you all along sort of stuff. Regardless, the legend of the Dragon Warrior was never true, and all of it was something that Oogway made up to encourage others to train in Kung Fu, to get better, and to protect the Valley of Peace. Basically, it was kind of a deterrent. If you're a bad guy, you wouldn't want to attack the Valley of Peace because it may cause the legendary Dragon Warrior to rise up and defeat you. But therein lies the problem.
Okay, stop, just stop. Oh my god. And you call Oogway a liar? Dude, you've dropped 2 lies in less than a minute. Okay, so first of all, Oogway did not propose the Dragon Warrior prophecy to encourage people to train in Kung Fu. Where's your evidence of that? And there's nowhere in the entire franchise where Oogway, or anyone for that matter, claims that the Dragon Warrior legend was a deterrent to protect the valley. Where'd you get that? Please, could you provide a clip or evidence to support that? Because I decided to check the wiki myself just to read the history of why Oogway did what he did. And in the wiki it says this, quote, Therefore, the ultimate secret to Kung Fu is to believe in yourself. Oogway understood the simple knowledge and thus created the Dragon Scroll, which only consisted of a golden reflective surface." End quote. See, it said he never said it would grant ultimate power. He never said it would give any special skills. He also never said it would deter foes from coming to the valley, only that they would save and protect the valley. And later in the wiki it says this, quote, "It is ultimately revealed that the true and ultimate role of the Dragon Warrior is to be the one that will revolutionize the world of Kung Fu and lead it to a new and better era." So it seems to me that the Dragon Warrior was always more than just a deterrent and reason for people to work harder. You know, I'd really like to know where you got that information, sir, because, you appear to be quite wrong.
The prophecy doesn't do that. In fact, it does the opposite, creating more havoc for the Valley of Peace than it prevents. The villain of the first film, Tai Lung, was once a student of Shifu and Oogway who showed a natural talent in Kung Fu.
He was not a student of Oogway. Tai Lung was Shifu's student. The film made that clear that Shifu taught him in the ways of Kung Fu. You're trying to tie Oogway to him to make Oogway look like a worse teacher, but bro, you need to stop. The film contradicts you, bro. We never see Oogway training Tai Lung in anything.
Enough so that Shifu considered him a serious candidate for Dragon Warrior. Tai Lung spent his whole life training, Shifu filling his head with stories that he was going to fulfill the prophecy. And because of this, Tai Lung pushed himself, hard enough to the point of physical injury.
Who filled my head with dreams? Who drove me to train until my bones cracked?
That isn't uncommon. I trained in Muay Thai. Bone breaking and injuries like that weren't uncommon in training for me or anyone else I trained with. I got kind of used to being in doctor's offices. Don't know why this is a bad thing. You train in martial arts. It is a physical contact art. You're going to get injured.
And yet, as Tai Lung was about to be given the title of Dragon Warrior, shown that the secret of the power was just believing in himself, he was denied at the last hurdle. And why? Because Master Oogway got some bad vibes from him.
Oogway saw darkness in his heart and refused.
This ends up pushing Tai Lung over the edge as he goes on a rampage that terrorizes the Valley of Peace. Oogway's creation of the legend of the Dragon Warrior, this goal dangled before Tai Lung that he worked his entire life for, and that was never given to him with no explanation as to why, was the core reason why Tai Lung did his top 10 anime betrayal.
Do you ever have a moment where you just stop and think, can someone be this stupid all in the same moment that they're being dishonest? Because I'm thinking that right now. Can this guy be this stupid and yet also dishonest at the same moment? Allow me to break down the problems here point for point, okay? First, he claims that Tai Lung was denied the scroll at the last hurdle because it was revealed to him he had to believe in himself. Play the clip.
Shown that the secret of the power was just believing in himself, he was denied.
Okay, but yeah, Oogway never revealed the secret of the scroll. It was never revealed to Tai Lung. He never told Tai Lung the secret of the scroll. I mean, remember when he looked at the scroll for himself after beating Po, he only saw nothing. It was blank. So that's lie number one. Second, he says the reason Oogway denied him was because he got some bad vibes.
And why? Because Master Oogway got some bad vibes from him.
And that, to me, is a dishonest way to attribute what Oogway did. Oogway saw darkness in Tai Lung's heart, and if you want to be specific about it, he probably saw arrogance, pride, anger, and jealousy. Oogway knew that even if the scroll was given to Tai Lung, he wouldn't understand its message, so he denied this of him. And this is proven in the movie when Tai Lung opens the scroll and didn't understand the message. His own arrogance and pride kept him from recognizing this simple message of seeing the true power within himself. Now, you mock this and claim that's the reason Tai Lung went on a rampage, because Oogway supposedly lied and denied him. Really, it couldn't be because that's what Oogway saw in his heart. Oogway knew Tai Lung was a disaster waiting to happen, and giving him what he wants when he wants it is not the way to deal with him. Tai Lung's temper tantrum was quite literally proof of this. I'm actually of the opinion that the denial itself was a test. Imagine if Tai Lung had calmly accepted the denial and apologized, saying he would try harder to meditate on this. And when he does this, Oogway could smile at this and say, "He's now a step closer." showing that Tai Lung was overcoming his own arrogance. But no, Tai Lung devastated the valley, throwing a temper tantrum. Now, if you want proof of this, consider this. You say that it's all because of what Oogway did. Okay, then why did he take out his aggression on the valley? Why not take it out on Oogway? Why not attack him? No, he took it out on the valley because he's a petulant child filled with pride. His pride was hurt, and so he took it out on everyone around him. He is a dick, and Oogway saw this in his heart and decided not to give him what he wanted, because giving an entitled child what they want is not a good idea. How is any of this Oogway's fault? It is Tai Lung's fault. My goodness. You know, I do get that people like to sympathize with villains, but this? Come on, man.
If Oogway had never lied or explained to Tai Lung the truth about the Dragon Warrior instead of just walking away disappointed, Tai Lung probably would have been a pretty chill dude. A dedicated master of Kung Fu raised in the Valley of Peace, and potentially part of the Furious Five.
Firstly, Oogway never lied about anything. He never said Tai Lung was destined for the scroll, and he was under no obligation to explain it to him. That's kind of why it's a secret of the scroll. He wanted to see that Tai Lung had the heart to be worthy, and he didn't. Because unlike Shifu, who saw only the exterior skill, Oogway saw the internal sin. And you think if he'd just given it to Tai Lung this whole time, he'd be chill? Like if he'd just catered to this whining child, he'd be okay? Dude, did you forget his temper tantrum? I pray you don't have children, dude. You seem like the kind of parent who would give their kid whatever they ask for in hopes they don't throw a fit and just assume, well, as long as they have what they want, they'll be quiet and behave. Ugh, this is actually painful. This is actually painful.
But Tai Lung's fall from grace isn't the only preventable conflict created by Oogway's lie about the Dragon Warrior. In the video game adaptation of Kung Fu Panda 2, a Komodo dragon named Zhao Dan challenges Po because he wants to prove that the Dragon Warrior is not strong enough to stop him.
Gongmen's city should belong to the strong, the cunning, the ruthless. Someone like...
And the Legends of Awesomeness TV series has a ton of villains who have a bone to pick with the Dragon Warrior. Kim the Invincible, obsessed with battling the strongest fighters in the world, travels to China because he wants to defeat the fabled Dragon Warrior. Hundun, a former guard of Tai Lung's prison, blames the Dragon Warrior for all of his troubles and learns Kung Fu specifically so he can destroy him. Quan the Unkillable tries to kill Po partially because he wants to defeat the Dragon Warrior and regain his fame. Even the Emperor's advisor uses Po's title as the Dragon Warrior in an attempted plot to take the throne for himself. I could go on and on, but you get the point. Rather than the Dragon Warrior deterring the bad guys, so many villains in this world only see Po as an obstacle, someone to outsmart or overpower or defeat. If Master Oogway's long-term goal was to get people to learn Kung Fu, congratulations, it worked. But at what cost? The creation of how many villains? And as a result of it all, time and time again, danger is brought to the Valley of Peace.
Dude, I don't understand what point you're trying to make. Your whole point hinges on a piece of information that you have fabricated. What evidence do you have that Oogway created the Dragon Warrior legend to deter foes and threats? I want to see the clip where it reveals Oogway was deterring anything with this legend. Besides, I'd argue it's a good thing we have a Dragon Warrior to stop these threats, wouldn't you? I mean, what point is this? Yeah, new threats arrive. Well, thank goodness the Dragon Warrior exists to fight them. Isn't that kind of what you expect to happen with a warrior that's supposed to protect your valley? They protect the valley? Ugh.
But that's hardly the worst thing that this tortoise has done. Oogway's second major flaw? His teaching. Master Oogway is just not as good of a teacher as this series makes him out to be, and his lessons actually hurt more people than they help. We've already talked at length about Tai Lung and Oogway's refusal to step in and take a guiding hand there, but it goes so much further, especially in the Legends of Awesomeness TV series.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say this before we go any further. I don't take these kind of TV shows as canon when they're created as spin-offs from the movies. I mean, by that logic, I should take the Aladdin TV show, the Hercules TV show, and the Little Mermaid TV show and call anything that happened in those canon when they definitely are not. So already I would take everything from these shows with skepticism and a grain of salt. But you know what? If this is really where he has to go to grab his evidence, fine. You know what? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. What evidence are you going to grab? Can you show me any evidence from these TV shows that demonstrates Oogway as a horrible teacher? Let's go.
Similar to Tai Lung, another former student of the Jade Palace that went bad was Feng Huang. She was personally trained by Master Oogway, but as she became more powerful, she challenged Oogway for control of the Jade Palace. In the show, it's framed as if Feng Huang had darkness in her heart, similar to Tai Lung. But just listen to exactly how what Feng Huang did was described.
As he trained her, she just got stronger, and that's when she started to change. She challenged Oogway to fight, declaring that she would be the master of the Jade Palace.
That's it. No, she tried to murder all the students. No, she tried to enslave the valley. No, I'm going to kill you specifically, Oogway. All she did was challenge Oogway for mastery of the Jade Palace in a fair fight.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Well, I've never watched the show, let alone this episode, so, well, you know what? Hate to do it, but let's check the wiki. Okay, let's check it out. Let's see. What does it say? Okay, so here's the quote. Quote from Shifu.
That is Feng Huang. She was the greatest fighter of us all. But she changed. Over the years, the most powerful of us have all had one thing in common. They've become dark, twisted, villainous. In a word, evil.
Oh, well, okay, it seems Shifu straight up said she became darker, twisted, and evil. But you know what? That's Shifu. I'm sure that's biased. You know what? Let's hear it from her mouth. Let's hear it from her own beak, okay? Let's look at another quote from her.
Without Oogway, I can defeat Shifu and assume my rightful place as ruler of the Jade Palace. The strong must rule the weak. They will fall.
Oh, so she's Owl Polyon. You know, film theorist, you're quite the dishonest person. I mean, I've found 2 quotes from that very episode that you quoted that contradict you entirely. And all I had to do was Google it, bro. Are you sure you should be doing this? I mean, let's be real a second. You know those quotes are in that episode. You know it. You had to go to the episode and clip that portion out just so that you could sell your case. You know that there is contradictory evidence in the episode. You're being very careful not to show it. This is dishonest. This isn't just lacking in information. You know, when MatPat made his For Honor video, you could argue he just failed to do the proper research. Here, you're going to the episode, clipping the portion that you think will support you, and then neglecting all the evidence to the contrary. But I would argue this. What does this have to do with Oogway? What does this have to do with him?
And what did Oogway do in response? Instead of doing nothing like he did with Tai Lung,
he captured Tai Lung! He did nothing. He captured the dude! When Tai Lung broke into the Jade Palace, he incapacitated him single-handedly. Are you... He did nothing. You're right. He did nothing with Tai Lung. He only, captured it. Are you ignorant or stupid? I am scared to think you're both.
Oogway did something even worse. He created an owl-shaped cage that was inescapable, perfectly fit for Feng Huang. Even if it's all true and Feng Huang did start turning evil, which again, I'm not so sure of, all this means is that Oogway didn't even try talking to her. Instead, he saw the dark path that she started down and just decided that imprisoning her in an Iron Maiden was the best course of action, exactly like we saw with Tai Lung. For those of you keeping count at home, that is now 2 times where Oogway has seen someone going down a dark path and done nothing about it.
Okay, dumbass. He captured Tai Lung while Tai Lung was throwing his massive temper tantrum, destroying the valley, and then made a grab for the scroll. He then tried to capture Feng Huang when she tried to threaten him for control of the Jade Palace. And we have quotes that I just shared revealing she was evil. You have no idea if there were conversations beforehand or after. You're just assuming there were none because it suits your argument. Dude, stop. Just stop. Get some help, in the words of Michael Jordan.
In other cases, where there is definitely some innate evil in some of his students, Oogway takes no action before they hurt other people. Case in point, Ding was a Kung Fu student at the Jade Palace who had incredible telekinetic abilities. To his credit, Oogway recognized this talent, but instead of taking Ding under his wing, Oogway sent him away to an order of monks to train. This led to tragedy when Ding grew impatient, using his abilities to hypnotize the monks and forcing them to jump to their deaths. There is just so much wrong with this. this. Like, if Oogway is so adept at sensing the darkness in people's hearts that he was willing to prepare a cage to lock up one of the Furious Five, his most trusted students, why didn't he sense Ding's darkness and put a stop to it before he murdered all of those innocent monks?
He sent the dude to the monks to train to learn how to harness his power for good. And then the asshole got impatient. He went off the deep end. How on earth is that Oogway's fault? You know what? Here's the funny thing. I thought you'd like this course of action. Earlier you were complaining that he sees some darkness in their hearts and he straight up throws both of them in irons. He tries to throw both of them in jail. That's so mean of him. He should give them a chance. He should try to work with them or train them. Well, he does here. He sends Ding to a monk monastery to try to learn how to control his abilities, but the dude gets impatient and decides to take it out on the monkeys. He did what you wanted him to do. Isn't this what you wanted? I thought you'd be happy with him. It's not Oogway's fault the idiot got greedy and impatient. Oh my...
But these sorts of special talents aren't always recognized. For example, there's Dao Dai, one of the series' recurring antagonists who helped Shifu construct the training hall of the Jade Palace. He also became one of Oogway and Shifu's students, though he had a lot of trouble learning martial arts. But Dao Dai had other skills, putting his talents in engineering to good use before constructing a giant wooden warrior that would fight for him.
I wanted to make up for my lackings, so I devised ingenious mechanical contrivances to compensate for my weak spots.
Honestly, that's really cool, and something that should be celebrated. I mean, Kung Fu Panda is a franchise all about embracing who you are instead of trying to be someone else. So shouldn't this sort of inventiveness be held up? Not if you're Oogway. According to Dao Dai, Oogway felt that
my machines had sullied the purity of Kung Fu.
Way to gatekeep there, my guy.
Okay, you know what? You ready for a hot take? I don't think gatekeeping is always a bad thing. No, I don't. I think it's important to uphold and defend the traditional and foundational aspects and ideas of certain things. Let me try this for an example. Let me try and explain it this way. When I first started training in Muay Thai, I was not very good starting out. I struggled at first, and it took a little while to catch up with my peers. But let's pretend that I didn't go through all the training and discipline and decided, you know what? I don't want to try. I'm just going to show up wearing my own invention, a cybernetic suit to make me physically faster and stronger and give me extra protection. Tell me, do you think that would be fair? Would that be allowed? Do you think my mentors and fellow students would praise me for this and say, wow, look at you, so innovative. You brought this totally awesome machine body that none of us can build or even match. That is so great. Or would they say, take that shit off and do your proper training like the rest of us? Any idiot could tell you the answer to that. That's why we don't let you use steroids in the Olympics, and why there's no kung fu school in the world that would accept this kind of idea. Oogway saying that making a giant fighting robot to fight for you is a disgrace to kung fu makes perfect sense to me. I would have said the same thing. You make the point that there are movies that these movies are all about celebrating who you are, but here's the reality. Not all of us can or will be kung fu masters. Compare Po to Dao Dai, right? Po was just as clumsy and weak at Kung Fu. He had no talent, no skill, he was pretty weak. But he kept working. He stayed with it and he tried. Meanwhile, Dao Dai tried to take the easy way out and tried to use a cheat tactic by using machines. Perhaps that should have been his cue to, instead of focusing on Kung Fu, become an engineer or something. What's wrong with that? He totally could. The world is not just made up of Kung Fu masters. There are more things he could be. Man, this is messed up. This is so messed up.
Time after time, in so many ways, Oogway's teachings fail many of his students, making villains out of them when they didn't need to be. And the only thing worse than that, what happens to his successful students. Oogway's third major flaw, his legacy. Oogway has passed down his prejudice for those that he's deemed unacceptable, and even the students that did live up to Oogway's expectations all inherit his worst traits. For example, let's start with Shifu. Just think about how Shifu treats Tai Lung after Oogway denounces him. Keep in mind, Shifu found Tai Lung as an infant and adopted him, raising him as a son. Tai Lung looked to Shifu for approval like a father.
What I ever did, I did to make you proud! Tell me how proud you are, Shifu!
But what does Shifu do when Oogway refuses to name Tai Lung the Dragon Warrior? Just shaking his head and walking away, instead of comforting his son, talking to him, and encouraging him to keep at it, or Going to Oogway and asking for an explanation, Shifu does nothing. This ends up taking a huge emotional toll on both Tai Lung and Shifu, destroying their relationship. And it also turns Shifu into a hardened and cold mentor instead of the father figure he was before Oogway's influence.
Okay, you do not know what Shifu did after Tai Lung's denial. How do you know he didn't go to talk to Oogway? How do you know he didn't try to speak to him? But we do know what Tai Lung did after his denial. So why are we making Shifu the bad guy? Look, Shifu already blames himself for letting Tai Lung become what he was. Shifu was blinded to what Tai Lung was becoming. It was Shifu who filled his head with dreams, trained him night and day, and convinced him of things he could never be. Oogway did none of this. Dude, are you serious? It was Shifu who kept saying, Tai Lung, you're totally the Dragon Warrior. You're totally going to be the Dragon Warrior. You're so good. You're so strong. You're so skilled. You're totally the Dragon Warrior. Then he takes it to Oogway and says, isn't he totally the Dragon Warrior? And Oogway goes, no. And Shifu goes, oh, I thought he was. And Oogway says, no, he's not. How's that Oogway's fault? Shifu's the one who was the moron here. Shifu made the mistake, and he knows he made the mistake. He apologized to Tai Lung for making the mistake. How is this Oogway's fault?
Shifu loved Tai Lung like he had never loved anyone before or since.
Look at that face. Tigress, at this point a child, clearly needs support and approval, and Shifu cannot give it because of Oogway's actions.
No, it's because of Shifu's own disappointment and frustrations with his own failure as a father and teacher. Oogway had nothing to do with that, you lying fool.
Just like his own master, Shifu has become a bad teacher.
Oh yeah, you're right. Totally a bad teacher. 100% awful teacher. He totally doesn't train the Furious Five and Po. No, he failed as a teacher. Bad teacher, terribly bad. Awful, one of the worst. You're totally not full of shit with the intellect of a jelly bean. Nah, man, nah, you're right on that point.
But even without taking into account this moment that must have been emotionally devastating for Shifu, there are situations where we see Shifu carry on the worst of Oogway's teachings. For example, we can look at the reaction when Oogway names Po as the Dragon Warrior.
No, if the panda has not quit by morning, then I will have failed you.
You don't belong in the Jade Palace. You're a disgrace to Kung Fu, and if you have any respect for who we are, you will be gone by morning.
Instead of respecting the choice, Shifu and the rest are rude to Po. They intimidate him and try to get him to give up on his dream of being a Kung Fu master, to leave the Jade Palace. They are gatekeeping Kung Fu, just like Oogway did with characters like Dao Dai.
Oh, no, absolutely false. Okay, again, let's compare these two characters. Dao Dai was given a fair chance to train and learn in the Jade Palace. Things weren't going his way. Rather than keep trying, he quit and tried to use his machines to cheat his way to success. Thus, he was outright denied as a result. Po is pressured and beaten and abused to pressure him to leave, but Po keeps trying, keeps fighting, never gives up. Po is willing to keep pushing and trying, and while it's true that Shifu and the others reject him, how is it following in Oogway's teachings when it was Oogway himself who chose him? They're denying him in contradiction to Oogway's teachings. Oogway believed in the fact that there are no accidents and that there was a destiny in Po that none of them were seeing. They, meanwhile, chose not to look for that destiny or see the best in Po and only saw what they wanted to see. How is that anything like what Oogway taught? Oh my... This is starting to hurt my brain.
What's more, they continue Oogway's questionable tactics on how to deal with students that they deem to be headed down a dark path. In that episode introducing Fong Wang, the owl who was the most powerful of the Furious Five, the rest of the characters start treating Po strangely. They worry that he's grown too powerful and will quote-unquote turn evil, just like Fong Wang did. And you know how Oogway made that perfectly sized owl-shaped cage for Fong Wang? Well, the Furious Five were doing the exact same thing for Po, creating a panda-shaped prison for him should he turn evil instead of, communicating with him.
Okay, you know what? I haven't watched the episode, so I don't know if that's true, but even if that is true, how is that Oogway's fault? Oogway knew the darkness in Feng Huang's heart and it was prepared to deal with her. The Five, meanwhile, are just assuming Po will be evil too because he's getting too strong too quickly, just like she did. Their behavior is based on poor information and superstition, while Oogway's was based on knowledge and wisdom. How is that in any way comparable?
But the biggest tragedy here, after experiencing all of this himself, even Po isn't free from the horrible influence of Oogway and his teachings. In The Legends of Awesomeness, Po meets Tai Lung's nephew Peng, who is incredibly talented at Kung Fu. Po and Shifu decide that he should train at the Jade Palace, but after Po sees the extent of Peng's skill, he gets jealous, to the point that he tells Peng that he must leave. He lies to Peng, explaining that he's
not making the cut.
Now, where have I heard that story before? Po did exactly the same thing to Peng that Oogway did to Tai Lung, telling a student that they weren't good enough without communicating, and the results turned violent.
Okay, so between dishonesty and stupidity, I think I'm going to lean on being stupid here. So, no, these are not the same. With this nephew character, Po is lying out of jealousy. He is being dishonest to cover for his own hurt pride. Oogway, meanwhile, denied Tai Lung the Dragon Skull because he knew Tai Lung was evil. He saw the darkness in his heart and turned him away. It was not out of jealousy, and it was not a lie. He was right and honest in both action and behavior. These two scenes are not comparable. Po lying to the kid because he's jealous is not the same as Oogway seeing darkness in a character's heart and being honest with him about him not being worthy for the scroll. These are not the same scenes. They lack any of the same motivation or context. You're just stupid.
And it doesn't stop there, either. In another episode, three pigs ask Po to teach them some secret kung fu moves, but Po turns them down and smugly says,
"That's why they're called secret moves? They're secret?"
As a result, the pigs kidnap Shifu and force him to teach them kung fu instead, all to get revenge on Po. Just like Oogway and Shifu before him, Po is gatekeeping kung fu here and making an enemy out of someone he doesn't need to.
Okay, and the stupid continues to flow here. All right, so what did Po say wrong here? What did Po say wrong? Nothing. He's right. If they are secret moves, maybe he should keep them a secret. Kind of like why Mr. Krabs keeps the secret Krabby Patty formula a secret. Because, you know, it's a secret. You don't want that getting out. What, is Mr. Krabs gatekeeping Plankton now? Perhaps they are moves that should be worthy of. Perhaps these are moves that they should train for. Perhaps these three pig brothers need to train and earn the moves just like Po did. Why should he sell secrets that they haven't earned? And again, saying he's gatekeeping? Dude, he's being a respectful student.
And then later, in the series Paws of Destiny, four young pandas want to learn Kung Fu, but Po initially refuses to teach them because...
You haven't seen these kids. They're hopeless.
Po, buddy, come here. Do you remember where you started?
Okay, and now you're being dishonest. Now you're a dishonest scumbag. Here we go. You were very careful to cut that clip. You were very, very careful not to play Oogway's response. I looked at that clip. I had never seen this episode or knew that this show existed, but I saw Po say that to Oogway in that scene you just showed, and I thought, what did Oogway say? How did Oogway respond? So I looked it up. I went and looked up that episode to see. Why? Because it will disprove your entire thesis. Since you have no integrity, I'll play the clip. I'm going to play what you won't. Play it.
You haven't seen these kids. They're hopeless.
Sound like anyone we know?
You mean me? Oh, no, this is different. They're just so undisciplined. I mean, they don't know the first thing about Kung Fu.
Have you forgotten how hopeless and undisciplined and devoid of any knowledge or talent you were when we found you?
Yeah, see that? Huh? Looks like Oogway made the exact same argument you did, bro. And the best part, you knew it. You had to edit that clip very quickly so that you could keep Oogway from saying the very criticism you were about to say. You had to cut it to keep Oogway's line out. You are well aware that this was a lie and you're trying desperately to hide it, praying no one actually has the integrity to go, let me see what Oogway actually said. I have no respect for a person who does this. I have no respect for a person who does this. You're trying so hard to make it look like Po's behavior is keeping in line with Oogway's teachings, but then hide the part where Oogway criticizes Po's behavior. My God. And again, like I said, the worst part is you cut the clip just so that people wouldn't see you making this lie. That is abysmally bad. Any respect I had for you is gone.
And also keep in mind that this series is set after Kung Fu Panda 3, which is all about learning that anyone can be a good fighter as long as they embrace what they're good at. Ironic, since Po seems to be more like Oogway than his own person here. The apple hasn't fallen far from the tree, or I guess it would be a peach in this case. The point is, Po hasn't learned the ways of peace from Master Oogway or Shifu or the Furious Five. He's learned to be selfish, arrogant, and ensure that he's better than everyone else.
Yeah, if you watch those few episodes of the shows that aren't canon to the film franchise, again, like I said before, I don't consider the shows canon. I only humored you in letting you use these shows to make your points. But tell me, why didn't you use many of the films? The only film you used was the first one and used Tai Lung as your evidence. Why didn't you bring up the second film or the third one all that often? Why were you mostly using TV show episodes to sell your points? What, the canon movies didn't give you the evidence you wanted? Well, seems to me you're selective about your evidence and you avoid canon content. Fascinating!
At every turn, from his lies about the Dragon Warrior to his poor and cryptic style of teaching to even how his students carry on his legacy, Master Oogway did more harm than good for the world of Kung Fu Panda. And honestly, his teachings don't even live up to the core theming of the franchise. In a series all about embracing the best parts of yourself, Oogway is all too eager to find the worst traits in others, the darkness in their hearts, and throwing them away when they don't meet his expectations.
Don't meet his Sir, be honest. Were you born without a brain, or did your lifetime of eating crayons and glue finally deprive you of any gray matter between your ears? Your cranium is so vacant, even the cobwebs moved out because it was too empty. Sir, you are a moron. So tell me, was Oogway right about those three students? Oh my gosh, you're saying he was real quick to see the darkness in their hearts. Yeah, was there darkness? Tai Lung, Feng Huang, Ding, were they evil? Were they? Well, let's check. Tai Lung throws a temper tantrum when he doesn't get what he wants. Feng Huang tries to take over and rule the weak because she feels she's stronger than everyone else and runs away like a coward when she sees she can't beat Oogway. And then Ding killed a bunch of monkeys because he got impatient that he wasn't getting stronger. So I would say the answer was, yes, Oogway was right. He did see evil in their hearts. Fascinating! Now tell me, moron, do you think it was Oogway's fault that there was evil in their hearts, or do you think he simply saw what they were becoming and tried to act on it? He put Tai Lung in jail when Tai Lung threw his temper tantrum. He tried to capture Feng Huang until she ran away like a bitch. And then he sent Ding to try to master his impatience and master his powers with a bunch of monks, and then he decided to kill those monks when he wasn't getting what he wanted quick enough. How is any of this Oogway's fault? Tell me, do you blame the cops for locking away criminals because the cops should have just seen the good in them? I am actually getting a headache wrapping my mind around this.
And what's more, Oogway's gatekeeping goes directly against the meaning of Kung Fu itself. Though we associate Kung Fu mostly with martial arts, that isn't what it's limited to. In China, the term Kung Fu refers to anything that requires patience, discipline, and hard work. Yes, Oogway is supportive of characters like Po and Shifu, encouraging them to embrace what they're good at.
This line shows me that you have no understanding of Oogway in the slightest, okay? Oogway never said to embrace what you're good at. Find me a clip where he said it. You won't find it. Oogway encouraged Shifu to believe in Po and to let go of his desire to control everything, to find peace in forgiving himself and to stop trying to make everyone mirror himself. And he told Po to stop living in the past and worrying about the future when he should focus on what he has now, encouraging him not to give up because of the hardships he's facing. Oogway never said to embrace what you're good at, and I defy you to find a clip where he had said that. Where did Oogway say you need to embrace what you're good at? No, that's not it, because here's the thing. If he had told, no, think about this for a second. Think about this. That advice is ludicrous because we know what Po was good at before he became the Dragon Warrior. He was good at making noodles. The Five even said he was really good at making noodles. He was not good at Kung Fu. So Oogway saying, you should embrace what you're good at, would basically be, go home and go back to making noodles. That's what you're good at. Do you realize how dumb that advice would have been? Oogway basically said to stop doubting who you are. To embrace who you are, not to do what you're good at. Embracing who you are is recognizing the fact that there is no secret ingredient to making you who you need to be. If you want to be the Dragon Warrior, there's nothing stopping you other than your own doubts. That was the point. And it also took the training of Shifu to get Po there. In order for Shifu to become the Dragon Warrior, he needed 2 things. 1, he needed the proper training under a proper master, that would be Shifu. And 2, he needed to recognize that there was nothing special about him that needed to be added to make him good. Po doubted himself because he knew he was nothing like the 5. So he needed to look beyond that, and that was the secret of the Dragon Scroll telling him that. Before that, though, he still had to be trained by Shifu. Like, think about the film in this context. Po becomes the Dragon Warrior. He knows he's not cut out to be it because the 5 have told him so and because Shifu has told him so. So he's doubting himself. Oogway comes to him and basically says, stop worrying about what others think of you. Stop worrying about who you were. Stop worrying about what you'll be. Focus on where you are now and what you can do with the time you have. So Po keeps working diligently to become the Dragon Warrior. Shifu still doesn't see it. So then Oogway has a talk with Shifu and says, you need to stop doubting what Po will become because of your own pride and vanity. You need to let go of your sense of control and try to believe in Po for what he is. Shifu decides to give it a shot and see Po for what he is and realizes that there is a warrior inside Po. He just needs to find a way to reach him. So he takes Po off for some private training and starts to reach him through the things that he enjoys, such as food. He starts to recognize that there is a way to reach Po and turn him into the Dragon Warrior. But even when he trains Po, Po still doubts himself, which is why he tries to run away when he hears that Tai Lung is coming. And then, when he sees the Dragon Scroll, he doesn't get the message at first because he still thinks there's something missing about himself. He still doesn't know the answer. He doesn't know the secret. Shifu thinks the same thing. So Po starts to make a run for it until he pieces it out thanks to his father. There wasn't anything extra he needed. He already had what he needed. We kind of did a whole talk about this in my Bible study series. Kind of crazy, isn't it? But my point being, Oogway never at any point said, you just need to do what you're good at. I'm explaining a movie meant for children to a guy who makes analytical videos on the internet. What am I doing with my life? What am I honestly doing with my life? I need to go outside. I need to do other things.
But why doesn't he do that for the others? Why doesn't he celebrate the powerful drive of Tai Lung, the mechanical genius of Dao Dai, the ambition of Feng Huang? Those aren't bad traits.
No, they aren't bad traits, unless they are tempered by bad attributes and goals. Yes, Tai Lung had a powerful drive, but it was motivated by an overinflated sense of self created by his arrogance and pride. He did not have humility, which is necessary to be a leader, and rather than demonstrate humility in his failings or denial, he went on a tantrum. Dao Dai is a mechanical genius, yes, but he is also jealous, conceited, and lazy. He used his skills to try and cheat and change the martial arts world for the worse. Feng Huang was ambitious, but it was an ambition not tempered by care, but rather greed and desire for power and status. A martial artist shuns these things.
And with the right guiding hand, the right mentor, they can become powerful tools in making the world a better place. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. And hey, if you want more Kung Fu Panda right now, Matt did a theory all about how Po is actually the best choice for the Dragon Warrior from the very beginning. Or if you want a theory about another awesome martial arts animated series, go watch our theory about how we need to stop the Avatar cycle from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I really love that one, and it covers one of my favorite series. I wonder if we'll be doing another theory about that soon.
God, I hope not. I watched that video and it proved you have a serious lack of understanding about the show and its characters. Okay, let's wrap this up. All right, so let's make this very clear. I have never hated film theory or game theory. I think that they have bad takes. I don't agree with everything they say. And while I have my personal grievances with some of MatPat's content, I never hated the guy personally. This guy is very different from MatPat. I hope that this is not a sign of things to come. I hope that this is just a bad start. You know, everyone has their start, and sometimes we start off on the wrong foot. Hey, you know what? I've done it. A lot of us have done it. Sometimes we make these mistakes. But based on this video alone, I am very concerned for the future of film theory. This video was so filled with not only very, very bad takes, but blatant dishonest takes. There were moments where clips were edited out of context specifically to avoid giving counterpoints. That scene where Po says that these kids were hopeless just so that he could cut the clip there and have him criticize Po, so that Oogway wouldn't get his chance to criticize Po himself. After watching that clip myself, I just went, really? Really? You left that out? It would have disproved your whole point. It would have shown that Oogway does not approve of Po acting this way. It would have shown that Po did not encourage Po's behavior in this manner. It is actually atrocious how dishonest this is. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen Kung Fu Panda 4. I've heard mixed reviews on it. I'll have to check it out myself sometime, but as someone who's watched Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2 and need to work on 3, I actually need to watch that. And eventually I'll get to 4. I gotta say this, Kung Fu Panda is a fascinating kids series. You know, it's one of those movies that I didn't expect to be good. It's a show about Jack Black as a panda learning Kung Fu. How can that work? And yet, it's so entertaining. It's so unique. There's something really, really cool there. I actually really enjoyed watching it. You guys need to check it out too, and if you haven't seen my video talking about Oogway and his Taoist principles, go check it out. You'll actually see some of the real wisdom behind Oogway and some of the fascinating aspects behind what he actually had to teach. This video, Film Theory, all I can say is, I hope you do better. I hope that this was a big accident, but as Oogway would say, there are no accidents. Thank you, Master Oogway. I appreciate it. You know, I'll be honest. I'd love to have a sit down with Oogway sometime. Like, let's have a Christian to Taoist discussion. I think I would find that very entertaining. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I need to go take an Advil. Take care, you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. See you then.